I mean to say it infects us in our most basic integrity. It says we can't be moral without Big Brother, without a totalitarian permission. You're a child made in the image of God. Oh no, you're not. You're a faggot. And you can't join your church and you can't go to heaven. This is disgraceful. It's inhuman.
I found another article under Desiring God, which is John Piper's little web page. There's a lot of articles. This one caught my attention because I tried a couple times to become a police officer when I was younger. I thought it would be really a cool thing to be a police officer. The article is, he wrote this back on August 13, 2015. Should women be police officers? My first question that popped into my mind when I saw the title of this article, why doesn't it say, should men be police officers? Why are we zeroing in on women specifically? Why not men? Should men be police officers? Should men serve in the military? Why do we never question what men should or should not do or be? Why is it always women? Should women be allowed to ... fill in blank? And should men have the right to decide what women should or should not do? Why do people like John Piper think it's any of their business? Why do you think that half the human population should have it dictated to them what they can and cannot do and be? Should men be police officers? Should men be allowed to vote? Is it healthy for men to ride a bicycle? Should men be allowed to drive? Should men be allowed to go outside of the house without an escort? Should men be allowed to walk around without their head covered? Should men be allowed to pray in church? Should men be allowed to speak in church and have authority in church? Why do we never see these questions directed at men, the other half of the human race? It's only women, always women. Well, it comes down to religion. It comes down to patriarchal cults that give this mentality that women are something to be controlled. And that for some reason men have some kind of the authority over what women can and cannot do. Should women be police officers? Well, my answer to that is just as much as men should be police officers, yes. If a woman has the wherewithal, if that's the right word, it sounds really good in that sentence, to be a police officer, then hell yes, why not? Why shouldn't she? Why shouldn't she be whatever the fuck she wants to be? I think women should also be firefighters. The reason I decided not to become a cop is because I wasn't physically up for it. And I was smart enough to recognize that fact. Unfortunately, I don't know, maybe it's changed now, but 20 years ago when I tried to become a cop, actually it wasn't 20. Last time I tried, I was like 40 or 41 years old. There was a difference in the physical requirements for men versus women. And there was a big track. Part of the physical agility test was you had to run around the track. And I think it was 4 times. It was like a 4-mile run, or maybe it was a 3-mile run. It was a long fucking run. And I did jog. I did try to get myself in shape for this physical agility test. And I went out on the track, and there was, I don't know, 30 other people. Most of them were men. There was maybe 7 or 8 women. And we did this run. Well, I was the oldest of the women, and it's embarrassing to say this, but I came in dead last. I was the last one, the very last woman to come huffing and puffing across the finish line. I was in shape back then too. I wasn't overweight. I was older. And I had been working out. I had been running, trying to get ready for this, and I was the last one. And I passed the test. They told me, "Congratulations, you passed. You can now be whatever on our list." But there were several men who did not pass the test, and they had enough time after they crossed the finish line to get down on the ground, stretch out their legs, rest, maybe grab a Coke before I finally came across the finish line. They were rested. They were completely all rested after their run by the time I crossed the finish line, and they didn't pass. But I did. When that happened, I knew I wasn't right for the job, even though the test didn't tell me that, and it should have. In my opinion, the test should tell people, "Oh, you know what? You're just too slow." People should be able to run fast if they want to be cops. People should be able to run fast for a long time if they want to be cops. And I'm sorry, but if the bad guy steals the old lady's purse and he's running away, the cop should be able to run after him and have some chance in hell of catching him and getting the old lady's purse back. And so I think overweight men should not be law enforcement officers, and I think women who can't run fast enough or long enough should not be law enforcement officers. I don't believe that the physical requirements should be less for women and men. Maybe for firefighters especially, maybe for women police officers, they shouldn't have to lift as much weight as a man, but as far as running goes, I think she should have to run as fast as he should. I think they should both be, for her to be a cop, I think she should be able to basically keep up with him if they were chasing after the bad guy, because if he gets there first and he's in a bad situation and she's a block behind him, he has no backup. So his female partner should be able to keep up with him if they're chasing after the bad guy. So I do think at the very least a woman police officer should be able to keep up running with her partner. Firefighters, I think women need to be pretty much on par in strength as well as the men. So I do think that there's a problem with the way this, at least maybe it's changed now, but when I was going through it, that system, it seemed wrong to me. I think that that a woman should be whatever the hell she wants to be, as long as she is not going to compromise somebody else's safety because she is not able to do the job. If she can do the job, she should be able to do the job. Okay, so that's my answer to this guy's, should women be police officers? And again, my biggest question is, why are you asking this question in the first place? Why are we singling women out? Should weak men be allowed to be police officers? Should slow men, should fat men be allowed to be police officers? Why don't we have an article about that? Why should weaker men be allowed to be firefighters? Should weaker men be allowed to be in the military? Why are we never questioning that? Okay, so let's see what our Christian scholar and biblical expert has to say, and why is he even, he's responding to a woman named Beth. This will be interesting. Oh my God, I could tell already, and I haven't even started reading this, that I'm going to go ballistic. Beth writes in, "Hi, Pastor John. I'm a woman who enjoys being a woman." I wish I could talk to this woman. Define exactly what you mean by being a woman. You mean you enjoy the little box that Christianity has put women in versus men, the little box that has all the little limitations, all the stereotypical things that women need to be women, and if they're not those stereotypical things, they're not really women? I have no desire to be a man. You know what? Neither do I. No desire, none whatsoever. And yet I like to wear pants. I like to ride a motorcycle. I like to go hiking. I liked digging for fossils and digging up things in the dirt. I like snakes. Yeah, I like a lot of things that stereotypically a woman should not. But am I a man then? Where's the gray area? Why is it such black and white? You're either this or you're this with Christianity. I don't want to be a man, so I have to wear dresses and put my hair up and put makeup all over my face and act a certain way. Women should not teach in church. Women should not raise their voices. Women should cross their legs. Women should not swear. It's not ladylike. Oof. Anyway, I'm never going to get through this one, I can tell. Hopefully this won't be as long as the other one. Hi, Pastor John. I'm a woman who enjoys being a woman. Apparently I don't. Anyway, I have no desire to be a man or to compete to be better than men at being masculine. Why do you have to be masculine to compete with men? Why can't you be a woman and compete with men? Ugh! For a couple years now, I have felt drawn to police work as a vocation. Well, of course, because you're a person and you have just as many desires and dreams and ambitions as men do. Why should you feel limited? Why should you be limited? Just because you're a woman, you shouldn't. Why do you even think this is a problem? Why are you even writing this guy like, oh, maybe this is unnatural? It isn't unnatural. Women and girls have dreams too. I am unmarried, and should I become married and my husband object, why would you marry somebody who would object? Why would you even give that man the time of day? If he doesn't like what you do for a living, don't marry him. Marry somebody who can accept you for exactly who you are and not have his masculinity threatened by the fact that his wife is a capable, strong, powerful individual. I'm sorry, but a man who is threatened by a woman with power isn't a man at all. Okay, so back to this. I am unmarried. And should I become married and my husband object, I would discontinue work as a police officer. Really? You would let him control your life? At this point, my question is a question of principle. Can a single Christian woman, which is different than a Buddhist woman, a Jewish woman, an atheist woman, a Wiccan woman, a Hindu woman, who is a, what's this word? Complementarian? Become a police officer? Oh, wow. You know, I've never, in my entire life, never read that word. So let's just copy it. Okay, and we're going to go over here. We're going to put this word in and see what the word means. I'm impressed. She has a very big word here. Theological view held by some in Christianity. Oh, that men and women have different but complementary roles. Really, yes, we have our little boxes that we put women in versus men. So apparently she believes in that. But she wants to become a police officer, so she doesn't really believe in that. Okay, Pastor John Piper writes, I love Beth Spear. Good for her. Good for her. And I hope I can be of help without telling her what she should do. And yet you're going to tell her what she should do, aren't you? Here is how I have approached these kind of issues, because police officer is just one of so many questions that arise if you want to be a godly man or woman and walk in paths of relationships with the opposite sex that are pleasing to the Lord. And I have tried to wrestle with the scriptures. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm wrestling with the scriptures, I'm sorry. Which is, I hope and pray, my final authority in these matters. Yes, yes, because a fiction book is so important. Yeah, we don't want to give, we want to limit people's lives, their entire lives, to what this fiction book written by patriarchal, sexist assholes. Yeah, okay. Okay, and I have come up with the general definition of what I think the heart of mature manhood and the heart of mature womanhood are? And I have argued these and spelled them out in a book called What's the Difference? And these are really foundational for me, and they helped me answer a lot of questions because he's so smart. Let me give you the definitions and then try to show how they apply to this question. This is his long way of saying, no, you're a woman, go back to the kitchen. Okay. At the heart of mature manhood is a sense of benevolent responsibility to lead. Yes, because women aren't leaders, only men. Provide for, yes, because women aren't providers, only men. And protect women, yes, because women don't protect, only men. In ways appropriate to a man's differing relationship. Yes, I am the man. I am the protector of the poor, vulnerable, waif-like, helpless and frail little woman. The postman won't relate to the lady at the door the way a husband will. But he will be a man, yes, at the heart of mature womanhood. Oh, okay. Is a freeing disposition to affirm, receive, and nurture strength and leadership from worthy men. Oh, I see. So the woman nurtures strength and leadership from worthy men in ways appropriate to a woman's differing relationships. I take a whole book, a little book, to unpack those two definitions. Isn't that special? So, dear, you need to be nurturing those men who want to be police officers and leaders and strong individuals. You need to be nurturing them. You need to be encouraging them. You should be like the little cheerleader. Go, 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 go. Standing on the sidelines, letting them do all the cool things. Like, you know, catching the bad guy and helping society. Let those men do all that. You know, maybe, you know, you can bake them a batch of cookies and take them to take the cookies to the police station, and in that way you can be nurturing those strong, rugged protectors of our society instead of trying to imagine yourself doing that job. Silly, silly you. Okay. Now in the home. Now, I don't know why we're talking about the home, because she's not married yet. But, okay, we're just going to assume that she will be because she's a Christian, and her cult tells her that a woman can't be whole unless she's married to a good Christian man, pumping out those babies to make the cult grow bigger. Now in the home, the Bible makes plain that these definitions imply a leadership role for men that bear the burden of loving and leading the wife. Oh, she's just so, she needs him to lead her because she just needs, she can't think all by herself and she can't make any of the big hard decisions. She needs him to defend the home with his big club and make all the tough decisions because she's just a helpless little woman. She gets confused really easily. So we need the man to lead her. And all she wanted to know is, can I be a cop? And we're going on about the role of the wife in the household. Okay, so we have that the man has to bear the burden of loving and leading the wife like Christ. Now, what does Christ have to do with anything? Oh, the fictional character? So Christ was married, apparently, loving and leading the wife. Did Christ lead some wives? First of all, he didn't live. He didn't exist at all. I'm sorry, I forgot. I'm dealing with Christians who think a fictional character actually lived. And that in the church, men bear the responsibility to lead the church's elders. I take it John Piper doesn't think a woman should be a pastor or a leader in her church either. But what about outside the church in thousands of possible roles that men and women may fill in society? My sense is that it is unwise to make a list of women's jobs and men's jobs. Thank you. There are simply too much diversity There is simply too much diversity and too much flexibility in how many jobs there are and how the jobs are done and what the very relationships with men or women are in the various jobs. It just won't work to try to make a list like that. So instead of a list whether policeman is on the man job or the woman job list, I have tried to provide guidelines for men and women who sincerely want to be submissive to the Bible, the fiction book. Okay. You're so submissive. I'm so submissive to you. Submissive to the Bible. Okay. And that really is the key. If a person approaches this question and just says, I am going to do what I want to do, then I don't have much to say to them on this score. But if the aim really is, does the Bible have something to say here at the root level of my manhood and my womanhood that would affect the kind of work I do in relationship and in to the opposite sex, then I want to submit to that and go for it because that would be God's best for me. I'm going to read that over again because I know I didn't read that well. But if the aim really is, does the Bible have something to say here at the root level of my manhood and my womanhood that would affect the kind of work I do in relationship to the opposite sex? And I want to submit to that and go for it because that would be God's best for me. So here's the possible set of criteria that I have tried to develop over the years in assessing which roles are appropriate for men and women, which aren't. Isn't it great that he can do all this work for us so we don't have to? We women, we can just go, oh gee, Pastor Piper, am I suited for being a police officer? Well, what about a mass murderer? I like sharp objects. Is mass murderer on the list for women, or is that on the man's list? It seems to me that all the acts of influence, guidance, or leadership between men and women can be described along two continuums, and I will mention these and then show how they apply. There is a continuum from very personal influence, very eye-to-eye, close personal influence to non-personal influence, and the other continuum is very directive, commands, and forcefulness. Directive influence to very non-directive influence. I have no idea what he just wrote. And here's my conviction. To the degree that a woman's influence over a man, guidance of a man, leadership of a man, is personal and a directive, it will generally offend a man's good, God-given... To the degree that a woman's influence over a man, guidance of a man, leadership of a man, is personal and a directive, it will generally offend a man's good, God-given sense of responsibility and leadership, and thus controvert God's created order. In other words, he's saying a woman should not have any authority over a man. Sorry there, Beth, you don't get to be a cop. In other words, they put limitations on women, on what women can be and do because of what a fiction book says. Why did he just say at the beginning? It's what I said at the very start. Honey, go back to the kitchen. Don't be silly. You're just a woman. To an extent, a woman's leadership or influence may be personal. See, we have a limit on how much leadership we can have as women. We can be leaders, but we can only be leaders if it's personal and non-directive. Or directive and non-personal. I guess they let us have that too, but I don't think we should push the limits. Women, don't push the limits! Yeah, don't push it. You can only up to a certain point. Okay. I don't think those would necessarily push the limits of what is appropriate. That is my general paradigm of guidance. And you can see how flexible it is and how imprecise it is. So let me give you a few examples. A woman who is a civil engineer may design a traffic pattern in a city so that she is deciding which streets are one way, and therefore she is influencing, indeed controlling, in one sense, all the male drivers all day long. But this influence is so non-personal, it could be a man and nobody would know it was a woman. See, that's part of it. that it seems to me the feminine-masculine dynamic is utterly negligible in this kind of relationship. On the other hand, the husband and wife relationship is very personal, and hence the clear teaching of the New Testament that the man should give leadership in the home and that she give a glad partnership in supporting and helping that leadership come into its own. She's his little helpmate. Right? Just read the story about Adam and Eve if you have any questions. On the other hand, some influence is very directive and some is non-directive. For example, a drill sergeant might epitomize directive influence over the privates in the platoon, and it would be hard for me to see how a woman could be a drill sergeant. Well, guess what? They do manage to. Hot 2, right face, left face, keep your mouth shut, private over man, without violating their sense of manhood. Oh, and her sense of womanhood. This is sounding so very Islamic to me. Oh, women, you know, you better cover up because you might offend the man if your skin shows. It's all about offending the man. You don't want to offend the man, the delicate psyche of the man. So the woman has to do all the work of being whatever the cult says she has to be or can and cannot be. And it all comes down to because we don't want to offend the poor man. So the woman gets to be limited and oppressed, and they decide how she lives and how she dresses and what she can do and what she can't do and whether she can do this and whether she can do that, because the man is the most important thing. We just don't want to offend him. That's basically the bottom line. The cult was made by patriarchal men. The point of the cult is to benefit men, not women. And this is how we know it's a man-made cult and not having anything to do with a god or a supernatural being. It was made to complement and benefit men. So women, the cult tells you how to dress, how to walk, how to talk, how to even relate to another human being. The cult tells you everything. And it's all about uplifting and supporting and encouraging and never offending the man. The man is what you lift up, and you're the woman. You lift him up, you praise him, you compliment him, you make him feel good, you listen to him even if you're bored, you don't care what he has to say, you act like you do, like you care. It's all about men. And if, oh my gosh, you becoming a police officer and fulfilling your dream and reaching your full potential has a potential to offend your man that you're not even married to yet, but you might be one day, then you better not do it. That's the thing. She's not even married yet. And why can't she just find a man who is okay with her and not threatened by her being a police officer? Rather than, oh, I'm going to quit my job if the man who comes along and asks me to marry him doesn't like it, that I'm a cop. Why would you marry this person if he doesn't like what you do for a living? Why would you want a control freak as your husband? Okay, so, oh yes, he just can't even imagine a woman being a drill sergeant. Oh my goodness, it would just so violate the man's sense of manhood. And it would violate her sense of womanhood. See, it's a violation to your womanhood for you to have a strong leadership role. And I know that the world we live in has gone completely the other way on these things. Oh, that terrible, evil world. So I know I am an absolute dinosaur when I'm speaking these things. Well, you are trying to keep half the human race from reaching their full potential, yes. And you're basically putting shackles on half the human race to protect the other half from being offended, yes. So yes, you're not only a dinosaur, but you're demonstrating a kind of poisonous mentality that has caused womankind a great deal of harm for centuries, for thousands of years. And I doubt that moving away from dinosaur truth has been good for the world or would be good in the long run, no matter how sweeping the day is in regard to making negligible sexuality and gender issues in role relationships. Whatever. I'm so angry I'm not reading this right. So, if you continue those two continuums that I just mentioned, I would say it like this. A woman's job involves a good deal of directives toward men. They will need to be non-personal in general, or men and women won't flourish in the long run in that relationship without compromising profound biblical and psychological issues. And conversely, if a woman's relationship to a man is very personal, then the way she offers guidance and influence will need to be more non-directive. Yeah, we want him to be the one in charge. She's just kind of like, oh, honey, I really think that painting the house purple is not a good idea. But if you like it purple, that's okay. You just go right ahead. Who am I to have an opinion? And in my own view, is that there are some roles in society that will strain godly manhood and womanhood to the breaking point. But I will leave women and men in those roles to sort that out. I have never tried to make that list. Well, good for you. But you do a really good job of making it sound in here like, if a woman wants to have any kind of leadership role, she threatens a man. She's a threat to a man. It's just very bad for a man. God will not be pleased, ladies, if you try to have any authority over men. He just won't be pleased. I mean, this is totally from the Bible. It's like, a woman should not teach or have authority over men. I came across that verse, I believe it was in 2 Timothy, and that was one of the reasons that I am an atheist now. I just could not believe that verse or that thought would come from the God that I believed in. And then I started doubting the Bible. It's like, well, if that didn't come from God, what other verses in this disgusting book didn't come from God? How do you know which came from God and which were man-made by sexist bastards like Paul and put in there to control half the human race and benefit men? So the key is, do they deeply want to shape their whole lives by Scripture? So in other words, do you really want to be a good Christian, or do you want to just do your own thing, Beth? Because that's basically what he's saying. And we may come to different views on some roles, but that submission to Scripture is a good common ground. So Beth, what do you think? What do you think John Piper's trying to tell you? I bet you didn't become a cop after you read this. I bet he managed to subtly guilt trip you to the point where you felt like, you know what, maybe I better not. I don't want to displease God. I'll just be one of those cheerleader types for all the males out there who want to do the job that I have always wanted to do. Anyway, I don't know if I'm going to put this video up. It's probably stupid. I'm going to have to listen to it. I kind of go off a bit, but we'll see. If I do, and if you've been watching, thanks. Bye.
I am absolutely convinced that the main source of hatred in the world is religion. And I think it should be religion treated with ridicule and hatred and contempt.